But anyway, so let's move on. It's time for Tales from the Trading Desk. And now both of us actually we've been friends for over 20 plus years in this business.
Reluctantly, but yes.
Reluctant, yeah. And so the we've been friends, and we both got into the
Oh, this
business.
beer.
We,
It's a
and
battle, Pat.
yeah, it's a battle. It's
It's a battle. It's a battle
Fruitbot
finish. It's
4000.
a battle.
So in the we got in the business very similar times, but we both started our careers a little bit different. You wanted to be a broker in this business,
They
and you
call it
started.
wealth manager now.
Yeah, I call it wealth manager, but
Yeah.
back then you wanted to be a broker. You just wanted to play the game, and back then you started off at what whether you want to call it a bucket shop or a boiler room, you started off right at the bottom, and I'm thinking you got to have a great story for us from your days when you in your early part of your career. So why don't you share with us a tale?
Yeah, so I wanted to get a job in the business, and it was tough. It was tough. It was everyone wanted to get into finance in the late '90s, and I had to really accept a job at a at a they called themselves a boutique shop, and
A
I,
boutique.
I,
Anyway, go on.
I don't know what boutique was about it, but really what they were doing was they were financing themselves um, companies that were desperate for cash and
Wolf of
taking
Wall
them.
Street style.
Yeah. You know what? It wasn't that dissimilar to the Wolf of Wall Street style. Um, just a bunch of guys with a phone. Some of them didn't even have computers. A lot of like really interesting characters coming through there, and you kind of had a system. You had a system of there were cold callers, and once you got your license, you'd be selling them the stock of the day or the stock of the month from the inventory of the firm, and that's where the commissions were as high as 20-25%.
Wow.
And then you lost that account. You didn't have a relationship. You had a phone call, and then it went to a senior guy, and a senior guy would add on more shares as they had various tactics to get the share price up. But the one newspaper in the city would just basically print the last trade. So if you can get some sucker to buy at 20% higher, you could tell everybody the next day that the share price is moving up, and so on and so forth, because technology really hadn't caught up yet, and that was one of the things that
What's
they
crazy is this was
among
the late '90s, right? Like this is not the '80s and '70s, man. This is unbelievable. Anyway, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go for it.
yeah. So there was one guy, and he had been doing this for just 50 years, and
A dinosaur.
he was a crafty veteran, and he saw me come in, and they put me basically as like a junior market maker. So I wasn't selling, I wasn't cold calling. What I was doing was I was just basically assisting with leveling off trades, which was like 4 or 5 a day. It was a joke. I don't. They really wanted me to get my license and to start selling their shares. So, anyways, he saw me, and he goes, "Let's go to lunch, right?" And I said, "All right, sure, cool." So we're at like Bay and Richmond, right downtown Toronto, right on Bay Street, you know, and we go downstairs and we get out of the elevator, and they're doing construction. There's basically bulldozing the whole street, pile drivers everywhere. He goes, "This is great. Watch this." So he takes out his cell phone, one of these '90s cell phones, the flip ones
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
had they had in the Matrix. The thing was like 2 feet long, but it was great. and I'm watching him, and he calls. He calls a client, and he goes, "Hey, Jay, do you remember that gold mine up in the Yukon that I bought you shares on the IPO?" He goes, "I'm at the site," because there was pile drivers and construction. It sounded like he was at a mining site. He was right across the street. He was on Bay in Richmond. he goes, gold spinning out of the ground. I got to wear sunglasses. It's so high. If you don't buy more shares now, I'm closing your account. And he goes, no, 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 but I'll get you on my secretary and I'll get more shares. He goes, well, that's done. Now we can go to lunch. So that was just that was one of the same guys. That was like a smooth operator. There was another guy, and I couldn't believe this guy showed up in the morning with his hair like he just came out of he just went swimming outdoors in January. His hair's all wet. He's got those old 90s headphones on. He's reading the Financial Post, and it's like Megadeth playing on the headphones. And I was like, how do you focus on this thing? But this guy, he said things that sounded smart, but when you really listened, they just weren't. So he goes, John, yeah, we have to move on this new technology opportunity. Toot sweet. He goes, I've just been given information that the board has given me the okay to sell another 150,000 shares, which, of course, is impossible. The board can't give any information. The shares are out there. The shares are out there. The guy goes, no, I'm not interested. Well, I've also learned that the King of Jamaica has personally assured me that he's going to buy 25% of the outstanding shares. A, there is no King of Jamaica. Okay, there's a king in England. Jamaica has no king, never had a king, unless you want to go back to pre-Christopher Columbus. He goes, no, I'm just not interested. He goes, John, I have one more thing I'd like to share with you. I'm really a woman. He goes, what? And then he hangs up on him like, that's his sales pitch? That was just crazy. That's crazy.
That's
it
awesome.
made no sense. I don't know what to make of it.
People honestly like look at that movie Wolf of Wall Street and they think that a lot of that is embellished, but that was the way it was in like the 80s and 90s. Like shit happened back then, and it was wild.
There was less regulation in this marketplace. It was so small that people really didn't really care about it.
Yeah.
And back then, brokerages and the banks really didn't come together to form some sort of a strategy on wealth management. Wealth management was not really something that was even in the lexicon. You had a savings account, you had an investment account. They weren't putting the two to two together, and they weren't seeing how that could be a full kind of strategy. The mutual fund industry also had all kinds of wild stuff going on. Hedge funds had wild stuff going on. To see this, this IPO going from $8 to 75 on the first print. I mean, that was pretty wild. I mean,
that was crazy stuff.
You just didn't have that kind of stuff going on.
Well, you got to arrange a special meeting for me with the King of Jamaica, right, buddy?
Yeah, if we could ever, we'll call you the King of Jamaica. How's that? You're just as legit as whoever that guy was talking about.
All right.